Welcome to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein, talking about the evolutionary, the revolutionary, the inspiration and the perspiration, and those aha moments that change everything. And now, here's your host, Rich Goldstein.
Rich Goldstein here, host of the Innovations and Breakthroughs podcast, where I feature top leaders and the path they took to create change. Past guests include Ryan Deiss, Joe Polish, and Jason Fladlien. This episode is brought to you by my company, Goldstein Patent Law, where we help you to protect your ideas and products. We've advised and obtained patents for thousands of companies over the past 29 years. So if you're a company that has software, a product, or a design you want protected, go to goldsteinpatentlaw.com, where there are amazing free resources for learning about the patent process. And you could schedule a call with my team at speaktolarry.com to explore if it's a match to work together. You could also check out the book I wrote for the American Bar Association that explains in plain English how patents work. It's called the ABA Consumer Guide to Obtaining a Patent. I have with me here today Rob Stanley. Rob founded two successful seven-figure online e-commerce brands, and he has more than 20 years of experience in e-commerce and marketing. He previously has produced several successful podcasts. He's hosted several successful podcasts and is a YouTube certified expert with a previous channel that had over 48 million views. He's also a China sourcing expert, and he's visited more than 100 different factories. Rob is currently chief evangelist at Getida, which is the global leader in Amazon FBA reimbursements and refunds. At Getida, he's affectionately known as the Money Man, and anyone who's ever attended an Amazon trade show event knows exactly why. I keep saying Rob, but to me, he's Robbie. So I am happy to welcome my friend, Robbie Stanley, to the podcast. Welcome, Robbie.
Thanks, Rich. I appreciate that. Yeah, it's absolutely great being on. And I have your book, by the way, just so everybody knows, I do have your book.
Awesome.
Had it for quite a few years.
Awesome. I appreciate that. I hope maybe you read a little bit of it too.
I perused through it.
Okay, good. That probably puts you in the 80th percentile. But awesome. So yeah, I mean, I've known you for a number of years now, like working in the Amazon space and working with Getida. But I'm really curious about previous to that, the different companies that you kind of founded, grew, or involved with. So tell me a bit about your entrepreneurial journey and how that all got started.
Yeah, for sure, Rich. So my entrepreneur journey actually started probably around 1997, 98. I actually had an eBay account I still own. That's from 1998. And I was just actually used to go to electronic flea markets, pick up stuff and resell it, fix it. Kind of really got heavy into the Palm Pilot back then and was learning how to take that apart, put up a website on how to take it apart, which there wasn't many websites back in 98, 99. That actually led into a full-blown let's sell online instead of on eBay by 2001. And by probably July of 2001, that actually turned into a full-time business. And I left my IT management position here in Silicon Valley and started doing that full-time, selling basically Palm Pilot and electronic parts through my website, which was called Get High Tech back then. And that kind of evolved through different generations of, let's call them like the early cell phones, right? The Motorola Razors, the BlackBerry line, the Trio line. There was just all these crazy different models out there. But what really kind of revigorated thing and got me kind of going again, even though I was running that consistently, was in late June 2007. The iPhone came out, and I was very intrigued on that. Prior to that, we'd been doing like these pictures and take apart how to take apart items, but with pictures. And we were just starting to evolve into doing videos on take apart videos for the different product line that we were selling and different parts we were selling. And when that came out, I was like, I really want to be one of the first to get all hands on one of those, take it apart, show everybody how to take it apart. And what I ended up doing was learning a lot about YouTube. It was a very kind of weird time for YouTube back in 2007. A lot of unknowns. So what I ended up doing is waiting in line, got a hold of the iPhone, and within a couple hours of getting that brand new iPhone, we took it apart, shot the whole video on how to do it, had it up online by that Friday night, went home. And I think I kind of actually forgot about the video for a while because by Sunday I was looking and I think we had like 80,000 views on this one YouTube video on how to take apart the first iPhone. Now, remember, I didn't even have parts for this thing. You know, it was more just showing people how to do it. But what ended up happening was kind of a residual from it, meaning that people that came still had some of these older devices and they were like, well, I'll buy the part from this person and I'll fix it because he also has videos on how to take these other items apart, like Blackberries and things like that. So that company actually was my first time going into entrepreneurship. And basically just evolved.
Let me just ask you a question first about that. So you took the iPhone apart. What did it work after you? What you did?
I actually still have it.
Okay, because when you talk about residuals, I'm thinking of the residual that you have to keep paying on that AT&T contract. It's not working anymore.
No, so when you bought the very first iPhone, you could actually buy it outright. You could actually just do a cash buy on it, and that's what I did. Mm-hmm. So I actually did a cash buy on it, and I actually still own it. It's in a box somewhere around here. That very first one, I think it's 4 gig, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh wow, okay,
yeah.
I think maybe I had the 8, 8 gig one. But yeah, and I waited online that first day too. And it's funny what happened to my first iPhone is there was a snowy day in New York. I had my phone in my jacket pocket, my big giant jacket, which I called my dad coat because it's just like, the type of coat you'd expect a dad to have, right? And I was snow blowing. I had a snow blower and I was running the walkway, and then I was like, "Where's my phone?" And then I found. Remember on the first iPhone, there was like a little black boot at the bottom.
Yep,
I found the black boot in the snow. And then a few feet away in the pile, I found the remains of my iPhone. That it had run through the snowblower, and it kicked it out, and the screen was shattered, and it's like the electronics were all exposed and all of that. But if I pressed the home button, the screen actually turned on. It actually worked, even though it was like destroyed. It was still functioning after going through my snowblower. So
that's hilarious.
I think I might still have that somewhere too in a box, but I think yours is probably more valuable than mine.
Yeah. Mine's been taken apart and put back together a few times, and my wife even used it, I think, at some point. But
yes. And I derailed your story, so let's get back.
No, it's okay.
These things that I was like the first real company.
Yeah. So that was our first company, and that just kept evolving as the different iPhones came out. We just kept pushing out more and more videos, getting parts for them. Probably at one point, I was the biggest supplier, direct to consumer, for iPhone parts in the United States, third party wise. And that kept evolving. And we really started, peaking around 2010, 11 on sales and everything. The business was going great, had probably 14 people working for us. We had a warehouse, which we actually owned, a warehouse. And, around that time, though, you got to remember, Rich, that a lot of these people started like opening little shops to repair your phone for you around that 2011, 2012 timeframe. And that's when we started seeing things slow down. I probably should have pivoted. So if we're going to talk about being on the lookout for ways that you can expand your business, I kind of messed up and I should have pivoted to also doing wholesale. And I missed that opportunity. I stayed with the direct to consumer because of the videos, and the videos were pushing all these, sales. So just to kind of mention that too, at one point, the videos I was creating from YouTube were actually generating about $100,000 in gross sales from our website direct. So all this free content, technically free, because even though my time to actually do these videos, it was actually generating $100,000 a month in sales from these videos. And just to be clear, because everybody's going to say, "Oh, was that from Google?" Because there was like a shared revenue back then. No, my shared revenue, because I always wanted no ads on mine except for my own sort of built-in ad on the video. But when the videos got old enough that the parts were kind of, the videos weren't getting as many views, I'd switch on the ads from Google. So I would say, there was months we were getting anywhere from $6,000 to $8,000 a month at its peak, just from the revenue from the videos. And then of course we're still driving 100,000 a month or six figures a month from those videos directly from people buying from us. So again, as those shops came into play though, business started to slow. So at that time it was like, okay, I need to pivot again. Where do I go? Luckily, a good buddy of mine had been running what we called an import company back then, not necessarily referred to as an Amazon business as we do now. And he was basically saying, hey, why don't you buy into half this company? I think between you putting time into it, me putting in time to it, we could probably build this up to be something. And I was like, yeah, why don't we do that? So he shot me over a number, which I agreed to, and I cut a check for it, got the paperwork going. And within that first year, we went from, I think it was about $500,000 to over $1 million just with that first year. And it probably wasn't even a full year, to be honest. And it was a lot of that had to do with going to Canton Fair, going to China, looking to source products. Now, just to make it clear, that was a separate company, and that was probably more targeting Amazon, eBay, other marketplaces, but probably also mainly on that eBay, Amazon thread or marketplace that we were selling on. So that was kind of my second company. Prior to that, I'd had a couple of investments. I wouldn't say that I was really entrepreneur other than investing into a couple of companies that I had taken a chance on and exited from, but those were small exits. But yeah, things kind of kicked off. So basically my entrepreneur started in 98 and my Amazon career started in 2012. Really on the Amazon side, I was more responsible for doing sourcing, finding new products. We had other team members and other owners that kind of ran the day-to-day, understood how to do the listings and things like that. So that kind of led it into that whole kind of intersection of those two companies running parallel together and running both of them at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're one of the OGs of launching products through e-commerce. How have things changed? How have things changed from then to now?
Yeah, it's a lot different now. It used to be, when we first started, it was kind of the Me Too products, right? You just find a product, slap your name on it, put it on Amazon, and it sells. And even from that 2012 time period going forward, we saw that already getting harder and harder to do. So we were like, okay, what features can we add, or what can we find that's different? We got to start creating a brand around it, or making it unique. So I would say, between even, let's call it 2012 to 2018 was kind of when I was mainly selling on Amazon, all the way up till today. Certain things have not changed. For instance, finding a unique product or building a unique product, making sure it has unique features, that it's something that stands out. Even if it's technically taking a already existing product, but going to the factory and saying, hey, let's add this XYZ feature to it. That has not changed. Those things are still what you need to do in order to stand out in the Amazon world. What I would say has changed a lot, Rich, is probably a lot of the social media aspect of building an entire brand, right? So people go on there, they start selling on Amazon, and what they need to kind of do next that I've seen, other than the PPC and optimization of the listings, the standard things, which pretty much were still true back when I was selling, my company, is now you got to build out a little more of a story behind it. What's the story behind it? What's the story behind the company? TikTok videos, Instagram, YouTube channel. Like there's kind of a bigger thing there that you're trying to build, not just this company to sell on Amazon, but sort of a global company, or at least a bigger perspective of a company.
Yeah, it sounds like also driving traffic, right? Mm-hmm. So like where you don't want to just rely on the Amazon search engine to get you in front of customers. You want to actually drive customers there.
Absolutely. And that's where that YouTube comes into play. For me personally, not just YouTube. A lot of people, Rich, already have these videos built into their Amazon listings, right? It's almost mandatory nowadays that you have a video built in there. By taking that one video per product and building a YouTube channel, taking those existing videos and somehow like making them fun or interesting and putting them on like a Reels or Shorts or Instagram or TikTok. I mean, it's already there, but people are so focused just on Amazon and selling there, because I get it. Most of your probably money's coming from that, but you want to look at a bigger perspective. If you're looking to sell first thing I'm going to do if I'm buying a company, I'm going to Google it. I'm going to look for it. And you want to own all those names, right? The YouTube channel with your name, all the social media with your name, but you want to see videos and more about the company, not just, oh, look, I can't find them anywhere other than Amazon. So that's where that really comes into play, is being able to do that. And that does drive traffic, because as people research and start doing searching into a brand or a product that they bought, they're going to go to Amazon to buy it. I always do. I go search Amazon to buy a product. But when I bought that product and I'm interested in either a feature or how to replace a battery on it or something as simple as that, I'm going to Google that, because most of the time that will not be available in the Amazon product listing. So you want to have that video to be able to build out that bigger brand from using that information, and maybe even making customized videos on how to replace a battery on it, how this function works. Or it maybe somebody, I gave a great example one time that we were selling these like tea lights, right? These LED tea lights. And when you got them, you had to unscrew them and take out the little plastic insert. Because they were waterproof, you couldn't just do a pull tab because water would get in there. So you had to unscrew it, take out a black tab, and screw it back together. I went and made a video for our company on how to do that. And it was like, and guess what? Less returns, less customer frustration. And it was a very simple video. And people could even Google it and just find that video on YouTube and, be able to basically figure out how to fix it or get it ready to go. Either way.
Either way. What about AI? How is AI changing marketing?
Absolutely. So I feel AI is such an early thing right now that we have a long way to go with AI. AI could be used so many different ways. You could, and I'm going to say with a little caution too, because AI is good, but you have to understand some of your product or the things I'm going to describe and not just take AI's word for it. So for instance, if you're trying to adjust your title and you're asking, like a Chat GPT or something to make you different titles, you got to understand the keywords that are being put in there to be able to make sure that's not being written incorrectly for you. Maybe it's mentioning something that you shouldn't be mentioning, or even in the product description or the bullet points. You got to understand that product enough where, and the reason I'm mentioning this, Rich, is, we don't want to see somebody go just buy a product, put a bunch of money into it, bring it in, have Chat GPT write the title, the description, the listing, the keywords, and think that they're going to make, millions of dollars. You got to understand Amazon. You have to understand your product, and you have to understand the quality of the title, description, keywords, PPC that's being done to understand if you're doing it correctly. But AI has been amazing. I'm gonna give another one for you, Rich. That it's still evolving. It's not perfect yet. So a lot of people are always asking about lifestyle images. And I have seen a couple tools. One of them people can check out. It's called Booth.ai, BOOTH.ai. It's still coming up. It's evolving. But basically, you can isolate your product, and then you could generate immediately a bunch of lifestyle situations that your product's being used in. And I think that's like super cool that they are taking a product and putting it into a lot of situations. And then you could basically have a bunch of pictures. Now, probably not good quality enough pictures yet to be able to use in a listing, but maybe a Pinterest or on a website or something else that where you're talking more about the product. I could go on. There's so many AI tools out there right now that are just changing the way things are done.
But it sounds like what it requires adult supervision, and not just any adult, but like an adult with marketing savvy. So like you have to be able to look at and say like, hey, does that headline make sense? I mean, I've had it write headlines and looked at it and say like, wow, it wrote some really good headlines. But it takes that discernment, I guess, to and not just taking for granted that it did the right thing. It's correct. One thing that I've learned about AI is that if it can't find an answer, it will make one up. It always gives you an answer. So that could be a little scary, that you don't know when it's going to fictionalize something simply because it couldn't find the answer to it.
True. We were just talking about before we came on the air. I gave Rich my little bit of a bio, which I technically had wrote for LinkedIn. Mm-hmm. And Rich was kind of mentioning, hey, it sounds better if we make a little change here and there. The way I saw it though, Rich, the one that I originally wrote without any Chat GPT help was way worse than the one I gave you. So I was kind of always looking at it that way, right? Like it was better than what I wrote. And obviously it said what I was trying to say, but it wasn't perfect. And that's kind of what we're getting at. Just be careful with AI. It's not perfect, but it can definitely help put you in the right direction.
Yeah. Okay. Awesome. So I mean, you have a lot of excuse me, you have a lot of marketing and entrepreneurial knowledge, but I happen to know you don't want to be an entrepreneur anymore. And do you want to tell me a little bit about that? I'm real curious.
Yeah. So when in 2018, I had an opportunity to sell that iPhone business, and it was actually to a competitor who went into the wholesale area and was doing 10 times what I was doing. Great guy, though. I had an opportunity to sell my business to him. And I said, this is a great opportunity to sell it to him. And he was just buying me to get me out of the way, to be honest. So I went ahead and sold that to him. I was really focused on the Amazon business. There was an opportunity to kind of step away from that business and exit. And so I was able to do that. And I actually kind of retired for a little bit, probably a good 6 months, came back from being in Europe. The wife wanted to be a real estate agent. The kids went back to school. My wife turned to me and goes, why don't you start another Amazon business? And I was like, man, I just got done doing 20 years of literally running a business, dealing with employees and things like that. I'm like, you know what? I want to look for a startup company. I said, because to me, being at a startup company gives me that opportunity to do what I love, to be there, put the hours in, watch a company grow. But there's aspects of entrepreneurship that, depending on the type of entrepreneur you are, my jam really wasn't like making sure payroll was done and making sure that we're always making money and talking to employees and hiring and firing and all those things were, and not working weekends, because if something happens at the company or the website, I got to handle it. So I was like, I'm going to look for a startup company. I live in Silicon Valley. So I started doing some research. I came across a couple different job opportunities. One of them, who you actually know, was FeedbackWiz. Had an opportunity to go in there. I think I was technically employee number one, if you take away both the co-founders. I was kind of employee number one, came in as chief marketing officer, gave me kind of a chance to get back into working for somebody again, kind of learn the SaaS side of the business and also being a service provider. Gave me a great opportunity. Big shout out to Henson and Aaron's for giving me that opportunity over at FeedbackWiz, and spent a couple of years working there. It got to go to some of the trade shows I never really went to, kind of learn, get to meet everybody again. Met Rich. I think I even had you on the podcast back then, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. Pretty early on, probably not anywhere near the quality of podcasts we do now, but that's a whole nother story. So yeah, that's why I kind of was just, it's been amazing being on a service provider side of the table. And I have to say that probably also has to do with the people I worked with and the companies I work with. Transition from FeedbackWiz to AccrueMe. Don over there, great shout out to Don, great guy, and got to meet him, learn a bunch about, kind of the fintech side. And, but the marketing department for me over there wasn't probably the right fit. I'm not too much of a fintech person. So I did have an opportunity to actually interview with Getida, which is kind of a little bit of a long story, but I'll make it quick. I had been asking around, had Yoni on my podcast one week. The second week I'm talking to Mina Elias, and Mina goes, why don't you interview Getida? I said, are they looking for somebody? And he's like, no, but they need you. And so I got a hold of Yoni. We got on a call and he's like, who's this person you keep telling me to hire? And I'm like, it's me. And long story short, him and Eitan flew out to San Francisco during the pandemic. We had an amazing time talking to each other and just discussing strategy. And at that time, Getida was, probably under 50 employees, came over there as CMO, and kind of just never looked back. And, when you find that right company and to work for and the right people to work for, it's just amazing. Absolutely amazing. Like Yoni, Eitan, and the rest of the Getida team, absolutely incredible to work for. Same mindset, a lot of flexibility to just be me and take some of that entrepreneurship, but use it for Getida. But again, I got weekends free to go golfing, and, I get to travel the world, but we can go into that a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. And you took the words out of my mouth. That was kind of the lead in of like why you don't want to be an entrepreneur, and how anymore rather, and how that's led you to being like in a great situation with great people at a great company, and like, a lot of times someone who has been an entrepreneur don't think that it's possible to go back and to not be the founder. But that their path towards success and happiness is through another venture. But like, that you made that choice really landed you in a great situation for you and them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It's been absolutely incredible. And finding that right one, and that's the way I kind of felt was when I was leaving Accrueme. I was actually interviewing with 2 or 3 companies, and all 3 of those companies, by the way, and Getida being one, but the other 2 companies just as amazing, great people, probably would have also been a good fit. It was just really kind of narrowing in and honing in on where does my skill set work the best? Where am I going to be happy? And where are we going to be able to I'm going to be able to come in and kind of give my experience, the things I've learned, and help also build the company at the same time. And, somebody that would give me that freedom to do that. And right. Yoni, Eitan, Max gave me that.
Yeah. And I think that it's something that more entrepreneurs should consider, to take their talents and apply it somewhere where it's needed, which isn't necessarily like running your own show. Right. Absolutely. So, and, just for clarity, I mean, we've talked about investments before, like, it's not that you lost everything and you need a job now. Like, you did okay for yourself and you wanted to find something interesting to do where you got to really express yourself and utilize your talents. And that's what you found.
Absolutely. Yeah. And speaking of that, so, one of the things that I was lucky to do is, when I exit, my wife and I were able to take some of that money and diversify that out. She actually still stayed with the business, which she's still there and still doing well with it. And they're looking to exit actually again. So that's really cool. But with me, it was like, as we kind of went along and I got into these amazing positions, we were able to kind of diversify. Me personally, with my wife being a real estate agent, we decided to diversify into the real estate area, buy some houses, some Airbnbs, some single family houses. We bought a condo. So, we've definitely diversified out, which gave us, we're looking at that long-term game, just like Rich. I think everybody should do that. Even when they're running a business, what's your long-term? Is it to exit? And then even if you exit and you get all this money, what are you going to do with it? If you want to start another business, that's great. But I wouldn't always rely heavily on Amazon always being the one. And just like some of the sellers are starting to realize that, hey, maybe I go to other marketplaces, and it's a bad thing. Amazon could still be your core. And maybe you're looking at like a Shopify or starting your own website through Shopify or other marketplaces. I just went a different route of going, you know what? My wife's got a real estate license. Let's go that direction to look for that residual income as we keep getting older. And as we look at, kind of growing my family's, I'm only getting weeks away from being empty nesters. So I'm probably in a different situation than others. Yeah. But it's been great.
That's awesome. And so like, yeah, let's give a little plug for Yoni and Eitan and for Getida. So tell me a bit about Getida and what you guys do over there.
Yeah. So Getida helps Amazon FBA sellers get refunds and reimbursements when there's issues in Amazon's warehouse. So just a quick example, if you ship 1,000 units in and Amazon says that they only got 990 units, there's a discrepancy of 10 units there. We help you fill out all that paperwork to be able to get you a refund back on those missing units. There's also things like miscategorization, weight and measurement issues. The list literally goes on and on. Getida has been around since 2015 doing this. So we're one of the most experienced companies in the industry that will find you the most refunds and be able to help you get back the most money in the FBA seller space. So that's basically what.
And it's all driven by, like, in other words, what someone pays is driven by what refund you get for them. So yes, they don't have to pay for your services. Basically, you get them found money, and then and you keep a piece of it.
Absolutely. So we're a performance-based company, which means you don't pay anything. You don't sign a long-term contract. Only when we get you money back, we take a percentage. And if we spend 10 hours and Amazon still says no, we eat that 10 hours of work of trying to get the money back. It doesn't cost you anything. People are so trained for the cell phone scenario, right? I got to pay every month no matter what, that it's kind of refreshing when we tell people that we're performance-based. And if we don't perform, they don't pay. So it's a rarity in the world nowadays.
Awesome. And so speaking of money, there's the money man. And,
Absolutely.
how did that come about?
Yeah, I'll give you the quick scenario because that probably a whole nother episode. But I actually, back when I was at Feedback Wiz, I don't know if you saw me, Rich, back then, but at one of the shows, I showed up as the Feedback Wizard. I had this crazy idea to come in a wizard outfit.
I remember that. I think that was at
the,
Prosper.
It was. It was in Prosper, I think around 2018, 2019. I was at Prosper. I was in a wizard outfit. Nobody even knew who I was because full beard, full everything. You couldn't even tell what I looked like. And but it was getting attention. Everybody wanted a picture. Everybody came over to get a picture. And of course, we're scanning badges as people are coming over. And so, I wanted to take that same concept. And, after coming out of switching jobs a few times, ending up at Getida and coming out of COVID, there was a summer of, was that 2021, if I'm not mistaken, that Prosper did their show.
July 2021.
I had this, July 2021. And I was just like, I had this great idea of a money suit. I didn't know what exactly all about it, but I was like, I'm going to find a money suit. I'm going to bring attention to us that we're there to get refunds. And I told Eitan and Yoni, I said, I got this great idea. You just got to trust me. Didn't even tell them what I was doing. So I went on Amazon. So that's where the money suit came from. If anybody's wondering, it came from Amazon. Went on Amazon, bought the money suit, bought all these accessories, show up the first day at the hotel room, Yoni and Eitan's hotel room, knock on the door, go in. And they're like, oh my God, that's crazy. That is the coolest thing. And I'm like, got all these accessories, putting everything together. There's actually pictures of Yoni trying on the different hats and stuff while we're trying to figure it all out. And we kind of come out the door, we go downstairs, we're walking over to the Prosper show. And I'll never forget this. Eitan goes, this is either going to be the coolest thing ever or it's going to fail miserably. And I remember before we even got to the entrance of Prosper, I'd already had to stop for 2 or maybe 3 pictures. And he's all, this is awesome. So, we didn't even call it the Money Man back then, by the way. We were like refund guy. What do we call it? So it took a couple of shows showing up in the suit to actually come up with Money Man.
Right. And the suit itself has changed over time. You actually now have custom tailor-made Money Man suits, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So the suit that we see is actually an off the shelf, but it's been tailored directly to me. The hat was something that came with it. I have a Getida gold chain that says Getida that I got. And then it's evolved. So I started finding, like, you remember, Rich, in July, it was like 100 degrees in Vegas. And this thing is not thin. Let's put it that way. It's not a thin suit. It's very thick and and I sweat a lot in it. So I started getting invited to go to these other things in different parts of the world where it's nice and warm. So there's actually a Money Man bathing suit, Money Man polo shirt, Money Man button-up shirt. There's all kinds of Money Man stuff, depending on the climate where I'm going to be. But the suit's kind of stands on its own. Just got done wearing it the last couple of weeks when I saw Rich. And that was always fun because it's always fun to see the reaction when people have never seen it. So,
yeah, absolutely. No, that's awesome. And I don't know like what an Amazon show would be without the Money Man there. It's like you've become ubiquitous anyway, it so much fun. And if people want to learn more about you or get in touch with you, how do they go about doing so?
Yeah, so I have every channel on social media, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm on all those. LinkedIn's probably the best for professional contact. I think it's under Rob Stanley, ROBSTANLEY. And then, of course, if anybody's interested in checking out Getida, we do have a special offer for the show, Rich, that all they need to do, they get that first $400 try us out. Like we said, there's no contract, no nothing. It's Getida.com/moneyman. So GETIDA.com/moneyman, all one word. And they get $400 to try us out. And again, after the $400, if they want to leave, they can keep the $400 a gift from us. And but we prefer, hopefully they'll stay because there's lots of money there to get them down the road.
Awesome. Fantastic. Well, Robbie, thanks so much for taking the time to be on the show. It's really great seeing you as always, even though I saw you a few days ago, but I'll see you in a few days from now. But
Absolutely.
It's always great seeing you, and I just really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show.
Thanks, Rich.
Thanks for listening to Innovations and Breakthroughs with your host, Rich Goldstein. Be sure to click subscribe, check us out on the web at innovationsandbreakthroughs.com, and we'll see you next time.